In this video, we will be discussing migrating to the active role synchronization service from Quick Connect. The topics covered will be installing the synchronization service and the two methods in which you can import your configuration into the synchronization service from Quick Connect. One method being using the configuration import wizard, and the other being a manual export and import. The first portion we'll cover is installing the synchronization service. Once you've downloaded the active roles installer, go ahead and run the package. And we'll progress through this as normally, accepting the terms of the license agreement. And there's a component down here for the synchronization service. So if you're installing this alongside active roles, leave everything else checked and check off the synchronization service. For this demonstration, we're going to only be installing the sync service. And if you have a path, you can go ahead and adjust that here. So we're going to go ahead and hit next and install. Once completed, we just hit finish right here. And that is all there is to installing the active role sync service. Next, we will talk about how to import your configurations from Quick Connect into the synchronization service. Now that we have the synchronization service installed, we'll run through the steps required to import your Quick Connect configurations into the synchronization service. First thing we need to do is run the synchronization service initial setup. We're going to specify our service account name here. And even though we have an existing configuration with Quick Connect, we need to create a new configuration here because the two databases are not compatible. So we're going to select create a new configuration and hit next. We're going to enter our SQL Server information here in our database name. And if you'd like to store your sync data in a separate database, you can check off this box here and put in a second database information to store that sync history. And of course, you have your authentications options down here. I'm going to use Windows Authentication and hit next. Here you can specify where you'd like to store the configuration file and if you'd like to give it a password. For this demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and give this a password. And we're going to hit finish. To start the process, we need to click on this gear icon here in the top right hand corner and select Import Configuration. From here we select the version of Quick Connect we were using prior, and if we'd like to import the sync history or not. This is really only there if you'd like to bring that over. If you want to save yourself some space and don't really care about your prior syncs, you can leave that blank. I'm going to go ahead and check that off. And we'll hit next. Now here, if you are importing from a SQL database, you would select I do not have a configuration profile here. I'll explain this step here later on in the video. So we're going to select I do not have the configuration profile. And we're going to select our SQL database where Quick Connect is located currently. Once we've entered all of our information here, we're going to select Start Import. And the import's going to run through here. Once completed, we'll hit Finish. After closing and reopening the console, you'll notice that you now have all your workflows and connections. If you imported your sync history, that should all be present as well. Now that the import's complete, you just probably want to take a few minutes to run through and check everything out, make sure everything came across correctly, and test your workflows. Otherwise, you should be good and continue as usual. Now we'll take a look at how to import the configuration of the synchronization service from Quick Connect using an export file. So you want to connect to your Quick Connect server and launch the Quick Connect administration console. Again, we're going to hit the gear on the right, and we're going to hit Export Configuration. We're going to go ahead and give this a profile name. And we can protect this with a password if we'd like to. And the file is going to export. So once exported, we're going to need to take this file, we're going to need to move it over to the synchronization service server. Now we're back on the synchronization service server with our configuration file copied over and an unconfigured synchronization service with no data inside of its blank database. So we're going to come here, hit the gear again on the right, select Import Configuration. Again, we're going to select the version we're coming from, and if we'd like to import the sync history or not, hit Next. check I have the configuration file, which we have right here. We're going to browse to and select that here. And if we gave it a password, we need to go ahead and put that in. So now if we hit next, it's going to read our configuration file and it'll actually already have our SQL Server and database name populated that we need to import from. Now we just need to put in some credentials here in order to connect to that database to do the import. And we're going to hit Start Import. And the data is going to import just like it did before. We're going to hit Finish. And then again, we're going to need to close and reopen the Sync Service console. And we should see all of our information. As previously, you're going to want to look through your configurations, your connections, make sure you can connect to everything, that all your tests are successful. And then you should be good to go. And that concludes our video on migrating from Quick Connect to the Synchronization service. To learn more about active roles, visit support.oneidentity.com.